Welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be making this dress here. So the first thing you're going to do here is to measure from your shoulder to your waist. That's where you want the top part of the pinafore to hit. So I'm going to be using 17 for mine plus 1 inch, that's 18. And then the next thing you're going to do is to measure your shoulder. So your full shoulder measurement for me is 8, and then I'm going to subtract 1.5 from it. So that's going to leave me with about 6.5. I'm going to mark that here. So guys, you just divide your shoulder measurement by 2. So for me it's 16 divided by 2, that's 8, right? So I subtracted 1.5 from the 8. So what I got is 6.5. I marked it here. So the next thing you're going to do is to measure around here. So from this shoulder part, I'm going to come down by 10 inch, or just from your shoulder to your bust line. So for me, that's at this 10 inch here. So what I'm going to do at this 10 inch here is to put in the width you want to use for the distance of this, the distance of this top part of the pinafore. So for me, I'm going to be using my nipple to nipple measurement plus 1. So that's your breast point plus 1. So for my breast point, that's 8 plus 1, that's 9 divided by 2. That's going to be about 4.5, right? So I'm going to mark that here, and then I'm going to come down to this end here, which is going to be the waist part of it. So I'm going to so here I have about 4.5 here, right? It depends on you. If you don't want to use the distance of, if you want the pinafore part a little broader, then you can don't use your nipple to nipple measurement plus 1. You can just maybe make it plus 2, so you can widen it a little bit more. So the next thing I'm going to do is come down to this waistline, and then I'm going to subtract 1 from the measurement I used here. So I used around 4.5 here. So I'm going to come down here and use like 3.5. So I'm going to subtract 1 here, and then I'm going to just connect all my lines. So I'm going to connect this one here to this, and then here to my shoulder. So guys, I've gone ahead and marked it. The next thing I'm going to do is just to add in about ½ an inch of seam allowance to the side. Just mark my ½ an inch of seam allowance all the way to the top here. So the next thing, remember, this is my shoulder part. I mark my shoulder to waist, and then my shoulder to bust, and then bust to the waistline. So the next thing I'm going to do is at this top part here, I'm going to mark my neckline. So that's going to be 3 inches, right? And then I'm going to mark the V I want to use. So it depends on you. I'm going to make my V to come down up to like 8.5, and then I'm going to connect it up here. So it depends on you how you want your V. If you want, you can make your V straight. If you want, you can curve in your hand a little bit, so it's more open. It depends on you. So the next thing I'm going to do is at this shoulder part, I'm going to come down by ½ an inch, right? Like on the main line, I'm going to come down by ½ an inch there, and then connect it to this point here for your shoulder slant, right? I'm going to just connect it there. Remember, I placed 2 fabrics here. One is my back pattern and one is my front pattern. So what I'm going to do now is to cut out straight. I'm following the line of my seam allowance, right? So the next thing I'm going to do now is, after cutting that, I'm going to just go ahead and cut out my shoulder slant. And then after that, I'm going to mark out 1 inch here for my back neckline, right? And then cut out the neckline here. So now that I've cut out my back neckline, I'm going to separate the back from the front, and then I'm going to cut out this V here. So this here is going to be my front panel. I'm going to take this out. So this is my front panel here. This is my back panel. But for the back panel, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a straight curve, a straight line all the way from the end. Remember, this back here is wider because of my seam allowance. So what I'm going to do is just keep my line straight from this top here, like almost like I'm going to draw a straight line, and then curve it up to this shoulder, right? So just try to keep your hand straight, because there's no bust at the back. So if you leave it this almost like this angled shape, it might look weird. And if you look at the picture here, you'll find that the back panel is just like it curved in this. It's almost like they made it this way from the shoulder, right? And the front came like, the front looks something like it came this way, it came the other direction. So to give my back this particular curve that this one has here, you see this curve that looks like a crescent shape going this direction. I'm going to just go, this is my shoulder, and I'm going to just put my hand in here and then just bring it down to this line and then join it into a straight line. So now I'm going to just, what you're going to do is, you can go ahead and just cut this out, or because I don't see the need of putting seam allowance here, because it's, with the seam allowance you need here, it might be 1/4 of an inch because you're going to be using lining. But if you still feel the need, you can still just go in and just dot in about 1/2 an inch. But I'm just going to cut it out because I know that this, I can still take out my seam allowance from here. We're just going to cut this out here. So guys, as you can see, I've gone ahead and cut out my lining just exactly how this is. I pinned it down and cut out my lining. As you can see, my lining, the front pattern has the same fold, and then this is the back pattern. So I'm going to set this aside and show you guys how to cut the skirt. So guys, this is my skirt here. So basically the same way that you went ahead, what you're going to do here is just to measure the length you want to use for your skirt. Apart from the band, you know, from the body of the skirt, measure the length you want to use, because this band might be up to like 2 inches or 1.5 depending on you. So whatever length you want the body of this skirt to be, let's say you started from the shoulder, you measured down to here. Now you're going to hold your tape, then measure from this point here, this half length here, and measure the rest of the skirt. After that, you subtract about 2 inches, or if you want a broader band, it depends on you. Whatever length of band you want to use, subtract it from the length of the whole bottom. So I've done that now, and what I have to work with is about 27. I added 1 inch to it, so that's 28. So what you're going to do now is, I'm going to just mark out the width here. So what I'm using is about my hip measurement divided by 4 plus 1. So that's 13 inches. So the next thing you're going to do is to measure your waist. So my waist measurement is, so this part is going to be my waist. So the waist measurement I'm working with is 36 divided by 4, that's 9. 9 plus extra 9 plus extra 2 inches, 1 inch for my darting and 1 inch for my 1 inch for the darting and 1 inch for the seam allowance. If you want, you can use 1.5 as your seam allowance. It depends on you, but I think I'm using 1 inch here, so I'm going to mark that here. So basically your waist measurement divided by 4 plus extra 2 inches. Then you're going to come down and mark your waist to hip line. For me, that's about 9 inches. I'm going to mark down 9 inches here, and then on this line here, I'm going to put in my hip line, my hip measurement, which is exactly the same width as this fabric here. So the next thing you're going to do is to come down at the end of the skirt, and you're going to subtract 1 inch from the side, because it's supposed to be a pencil skirt, right? So instead of the 13 that is the full length here, I'm going to make it 12, and then I'm going to mark the 12 here, and then I'm going to come down on this hip line by 1 inch, right? You can't connect this line directly to this line. If you do that, your skirt will have like a point at this side, like an ear. So what you're going to do is to blend it in. You're going to come down by 1 inch here, and then you're going to blend in this line. So you're going to blend in this line, and then you're going to come mark this place. Just bring it down like a straight line, and then connect the rest. And then from there, you're going to connect this one to this here. So after that, the next thing you're going to do is to connect this to the waist. Now that you've done it, what you're going to do now is, you see, we've done this here. So what I'm going to do is to cut out this excess, and then I'm going to show you guys something. So guys, now that I've cut out and shaped my skirt this way, the next thing you're going to do is to mark your mark about 4.5. So for me, I'm using 4.5 here. It depends on the side you want your slit to be, because just how you're going to check it is to take out your front panel of your skirt, place it on yourself, and figure out if it is on the right or if it's on the left, and then you start marking. So I'm using, this is going to be on my left side. So I'm going to use the left side. If you want it on the right, then you're going to flip and find where the right will be. So you're going to come in by 4.5 or so, and then you're going to extend this line down, right? This is how I got this 4.5 is like your the breast point measurement, right? The nipple to nipple measurement plus like half an inch to it. That's how I got it. So you're going to extend this line down here. So guys, after you want your slit more to the side, what you can do is maybe subtract mark 1.5 on this side, and maybe on this particular side where you want your slit to extend more, you can use about 2 inches or 3 inches more. You understand? So you can mark 2 inches on this side or 1.5 on this side, and then go in this way by 3 inches or 2.5. It depends on you. So what you're going to do is now I'm going to, just because I want to replicate almost but not exactly like our own, I'm just going to use 1.5 for this side, and then I'm going to use, let's say, 2.5 on the other side. But it depends on you how you want yours to be. So you can move yours more, you can move this side more, and then what you're going to do now is mark from your waist to where you want the slit to stop. So let's say I want my slit to stop at, let's say, 15, because I don't want it that high, right? So I'm going to come down at 15, but you know her own is more than that. So this is my hip, and I came down by like 6 inches after my hip. If you want, you can go up further. It depends on you. So what you're going to do now is to connect this mark that you made here, connect it up. So connect this one this way, and then this one here, you can connect it also up to that line here. So you're going to connect it up to this line here. If you want, you can always extend it more and more and more. If you don't even want any of this here, you can just leave about 1 inch at this end and connect it. So you know that all this side is almost like open, coming on the side of your leg, joining to this line. You understand? So what I'm going to do now, you see this side is more open. So I'm going to just take my ruler. Remember, you're cutting on just one piece of your fabric. Don't go and make the mistake of cutting it on the two. So you are going to cut on just one side. So I'm going to hold it, make sure that it's on one side. I'm cutting it, and then cut out this here, right? Cut it, and then go up all the way. The seam I know you'll be wondering, what seam am I going to use to join this back? I'm going to use half an inch of my seam allowance that I left for this side is what I'm going to use to close it up, right? So remember, this is for I'm using my dart line for this. So I'm still going to put one dart here and put one dart here, but the dart on this side, instead of narrowing it when I'm coming down, I can always like just narrow it a bit and then join this line. That's why I said you might want to use about 1.5 as your seam allowance on the hip, so that you can be able to manage all these adjustments on this side. It's better to have more fabric than less, so that in case after taking out this closing up this back again and the seam is not enough, you can always just take out from the side of your skirt. You understand? So now I'm going to just cut out this side also. So I'm going to cut this one out, but I know that this will fit because I know that this will fit because my hip measurement is not almost 48 on the dot. It's like 47 points. So that small point will always manage when I come down to this hip, if what I'm saying makes any sense. So you see the line I marked here, so that's where I'm going to stop. So what you're going to do now is you're going to also, so because this is a pencil skirt, another thing that you're going to do, so you see we are done with the front panel, we're going to take it out now. Because this is a pencil skirt, another thing you're going to do is I'm going to mark my hip line again. So my hip line is on this 9 inches, right? So another thing you're going to do is come down here on this end again. That is your the zip allowance of your skirt. Because it's a pencil skirt, you're going to come here and mark, and then maybe come down here by about 3 inches or so, right? 3 inches down here, and then you're going to connect this line, almost like connect it and blend it in. So I'm going to connect it here because you don't want this skirt to be, like at the back here to be straight. You want it to cup in under your butt and just curve in, right? So you're just going to slice this out here and blend it in. So I'm just going to cut this out also. You want the back to be flat right under your butt. You don't want it like straight like an A-line. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to trace out my lining for my skirt. and then I'll start joining everything. Guys, this is what it looks like right now. This is the top part here. I've joined the two back to the front here. Did the same thing also for my lining. Remember, like I said, you can always bring your neckline further down. So what I'm going to do now with this lining is to just sew all the way from the whole side, like start from the back here, close up the whole side and come to the front, and then do it on the two sides and then do it for the neckline. So guys, I've made my stitch all the way. So what I'm going to do is to snip all this out here and give it a notch so that it will release the tension. So guys, now that I've done that, what I'm going to do, remember, you're going to leave the wrong side out, wrong side of the lining out, and then you're going to join it. So what I'm going to do now is to flip the right side. So put your hand in here, pull this one out. So you're going to put your hand in on the other one again and pull it out. So you're coming from the front side towards the back side. So you're going to pull that one out now. So the next thing is to iron it. So guys, this is what we are working with now. After flipping it out, you go ahead and iron it. It would be better to use like a black lining for this or white lining, but I don't really like using lining, so that's why I'm using this color, because this is the only one I have right now. So just after flipping it out, you just go ahead and iron it, and then you move over to the skirt.